Ever found yourself staring at a pile of bills while your inbox pings with investment opportunities promising the world? That's exactly where I am right now, caught in a financial tug-of-war between clearing my debt and diving into the stock market. It's like being at a crossroads with no signposts, just a gut feeling and a calculator. As someone who's always played it safe, I'm grappling with the allure of potential gains against the weight of what I owe. How do I choose the right path without falling into deeper financial uncertainty? I'm a 32-year-old marketing professional living in a bustling city, where the cost of living seems to rise with every passing year. I've been reasonably successful in my career, but like many, I've accumulated a fair share of debt, between student loans and a couple of credit cards that I used a bit too liberally in my 20s. I'm staring down a total of about $25,000. It's not crippling, but it's enough to keep me up some nights. Recently, I've been seeing a lot of buzz about investing in the stock market. Friends have been raving about their returns, and I can't help but feel a mix of envy and curiosity. This interest isn't completely out of the blue. My parents dabbled in stocks, and I remember the excitement they felt when their investments paid off. But I've always been more conservative with money, preferring the safety of savings over the unpredictability of the market. The issue really started to take root a few months ago when I was hit with an unexpected car repair that wiped out my emergency fund. This financial jolt made me question whether I'm managing my money as wisely as I could be. The stock market seemed like a promising way to rebuild and grow my savings, but the thought of my debt loomed large, casting a shadow over any decision to invest. Initially, I felt overwhelmed, swinging between the anxiety of staying in debt longer and the fear of missing out on potential investment opportunities. This dilemma has been gnawing at me, and I'm torn between taking a risk and playing it safe, unsure of which path will lead to financial stability. Things took a sharper turn for the worse when my company announced it was restructuring due to financial losses. Although I managed to keep my job, the anxiety in the office was palpable. The uncertainty around potential layoffs made me question my own financial security even more. I couldn't shake the feeling that my career might not be as stable as I once thought, and this added a new layer of urgency to my financial decisions. Around the same time, a close friend of mine, someone I'd known since college, called me with an exciting proposition. She was starting a small business and was looking for investors. She pitched it to me as a low-risk, high-reward opportunity, promising significant returns in just a few years. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and I found myself torn once again. This could be the golden ticket I needed to boost my financial standing, yet the idea of sinking money into something so new was daunting. The strain of these compounded uncertainties started to wear on me. My once solid sleep schedule was disrupted, and I found myself waking up in the middle of the night, my mind racing with what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. The dual pressures of debt and the allure of investment opportunities weighed heavily on my shoulders, creating a constant hum of stress that was hard to shake off. It didn't help that the car repairs seemed to open a floodgate of unexpected expenses. Just weeks after getting my car back on the road, a sudden plumbing issue in my apartment required immediate attention and, of course, another chunk of change. Every time I felt like I was getting a handle on my finances, another curveball seemed to knock me off balance. Frustration mounted as I juggled these competing priorities. I spent hours poring over financial advice forums, devouring articles on investment strategies, and debating the merits of debt repayment versus investment with anyone who would listen. My emotions swung wildly between hope and despair, clarity and confusion. Friends offered advice, each with their own perspective, but I found myself more muddled than ever, caught in a storm of conflicting opinions. The weight of it all made it hard to focus at work, affecting my performance and further fueling my anxiety about job security. I felt trapped in a cycle where every attempt to solve one problem only seemed to intensify another. The stakes felt higher than ever, and I knew I had to make a decision soon. But every option felt like a potential misstep, a chance to dig myself deeper into financial turmoil. Determined to get a grip on my spiraling financial situation, I decided to take a multi-pronged approach. First, I revisited my budget with a magnifying glass, scrutinizing every expense. I cut out non-essentials, streaming subscriptions, dining out, and those impulse buys that had become a guilty habit. This helped free up some cash flow, but it felt like just a drop in the ocean given the bigger picture. Seeking professional advice, I scheduled a meeting with a financial advisor. The session was eye-opening. The advisor emphasized the importance of having a solid emergency fund before considering any investments. They suggested a balanced approach, allocating a portion of my income to tackle high-interest debts, while slowly building a small investment portfolio to gain some experience. This seemed like a sensible plan, but implementing it was easier said than done. I also tried negotiating with my creditors to lower the interest rates on my loans, hoping to ease the burden and pay off the principal more aggressively. Some creditors were cooperative, offering slight reductions, while others stood firm, leaving me feeling like I was fighting an uphill battle. Then, just as I began to feel a semblance of control returning, a new curveball hit. The company, amidst restructuring, announced a temporary salary freeze. This news was devastating, stripping away any small gains I had made and leaving me feeling deflated. It also threw a wrench into my budgeting plans, as I now had to recalibrate with the same income against rising expenses. The stress was unrelenting. I tried to cope by reaching out to my network, gathering insights from those who had navigated similar challenges. Their stories offered some comfort, but also underscored the unpredictability of financial health. Throughout this ordeal, I found solace in small victories, like successfully negotiating a payment plan for my credit card debt and learning to cook more meals at home. But each step forward seemed to be met with 2 steps back, especially with the looming uncertainty at work. The salary freeze, coupled with my friend's persistent urging to invest in her business, left me feeling torn between loyalty and pragmatism. Every decision seemed fraught with risk, yet doing nothing felt equally perilous. The fear of making the wrong choice was paralyzing, and I realized I needed a clear head and sound strategy to navigate the storm. The financial turmoil seeped into every corner of my life, casting a long shadow over my mental and emotional well-being. The constant juggling of numbers in my head became exhausting, leaving little room for anything else. Conversations with friends started feeling hollow, as if a part of me was always elsewhere, stuck in a loop of financial worry. Socially, I began to withdraw. Invitations to dinners and gatherings were often met with polite declines. Each outing represented a potential expense, and the thought of spending money on non-essentials filled me with guilt. I didn't want to admit to my friends that my financial situation was dictating my social life, but my absence spoke volumes. At work, I found it increasingly difficult to maintain focus. Projects that once excited me now felt like burdens, their significance dwarfed by the personal crisis I was navigating. The fear of underperforming added another layer of stress, creating a vicious cycle that eroded my confidence and enthusiasm. I worried that this financial fog was dulling my creative edge, something I had always prided myself on. Emotionally, I was a pendulum swinging between frustration and despair. Some days, a flicker of hope would surface, usually after a small financial win or an encouraging chat with a supportive friend. But more often than not, it was overshadowed by a sense of helplessness, a gnawing fear that I was trapped in a financial quagmire with no clear way out. The internal conflict was relentless. I knew I needed to make a decision soon, whether to focus entirely on debt repayment or dip my toes into investing. But the stakes felt impossibly high. Each option carried its own set of risks and rewards, and the pressure to choose wisely was overwhelming. This ongoing stress took a toll on my physical health as well. I noticed changes in my sleep patterns, with restless nights becoming more frequent. The exhaustion seeped into my days, making even the simplest tasks feel monumental. The weight of it all bore down on me, a constant reminder of the precarious balance I was trying to maintain. In quieter moments, I found myself reflecting on what I truly valued, questioning if my financial goals were aligned with my personal happiness. This period of introspection, though painful, offered glimpses of clarity, a realization that perhaps this struggle could teach me more about resilience and adaptability than I'd ever imagined. Yet the path to resolution remained murky, and the journey felt far from over. As the weeks dragged on without any significant change, I found myself entertaining ideas that had once seemed unthinkable. The thought of declaring bankruptcy, though drastic, lingered in the back of my mind. It felt like a last resort, a nuclear option that could potentially reset my financial slate, but at the cost of my credit and possibly my reputation. The idea was terrifying, yet it offered a glimmer of relief from the relentless pressure I was under. I also considered downsizing, moving to a smaller apartment to cut costs. The city had always been my home, a place of endless opportunities, but the high cost of living was squeezing every last cent out of me. Leaving behind my current lifestyle felt like admitting defeat, yet the financial savings were undeniable. The thought of taking such drastic steps filled me with doubt. I worried about the social stigma attached to bankruptcy, the whispers and assumptions that might follow. Would people see me as irresponsible, someone who couldn't manage their finances? The fear of judgment was paralyzing, making every potential decision feel like a double-edged sword. Downsizing, too, was fraught with uncertainty. The emotional toll of leaving my community, the friends I'd made, and the life I'd built was a heavy burden to bear. I questioned whether such a move would truly solve my problems or just create new ones in their place. Each drastic measure came with its own set of fears and potential repercussions, both immediate and long-term. The thought of starting over in any capacity was daunting, and I found myself hesitating, trapped between the need for change and the fear of its consequences. I felt torn between taking action and the fear of what those actions might mean for my future. The path ahead was uncertain, and I was painfully aware that whatever decision I made could alter the course of my life in ways I couldn't fully predict. Yet doing nothing felt equally dangerous, leaving me stuck in a financial limbo that was becoming increasingly unsustainable. After months of stress, sleepless nights, and seemingly endless cycles of worry, I find myself at a crossroads, unsure of which path to take. The financial landscape I've been navigating has left me feeling drained and isolated, but I'm hopeful that reaching out might provide some clarity. I've attempted every reasonable solution I could think of, yet my financial situation feels like a maze with no clear exit. I'm turning to this community in search of advice, or perhaps just to find solace in shared experiences. Have any of you faced a similar dilemma between paying off debt and pursuing investment opportunities? How did you manage to strike a balance, if at all? Are there options or strategies I haven't considered that could help me regain some financial stability? Part of me hopes for a fresh perspective that could illuminate a path I haven't yet seen. Yet, even if no immediate solutions present themselves, just expressing these thoughts feels like a step in the right direction. It's comforting to know that I'm not alone in this struggle, and maybe, just maybe, someone out there has found a way through similar circumstances. At the end of the day, I'm striving for a sense of peace, financially, emotionally, and mentally. I know the journey ahead won't be easy, but I'm committed to finding a way forward. Thank you for reading and for any insights you might share. Your support means more than words can express.